When it comes to choosing the right bow for you, we often have many comparisons: recurve or compound, recurve or longbow, modern or traditional, and so on. Now, one thing that does pop up when people go bow shopping, and sometimes we forget to discuss this, is one piece or takedown. This is something which is actually fairly obvious for anyone who actually owns a bow, but for those who are just getting into archery, this may be a hard choice, and you might be misguided or misinformed over the merits of one piece and takedown. So I'm going to do a fairly quick video to talk through the advantages and disadvantages of buying a one piece bow versus a takedown bow. I'm going to make the assumption that if you're new to archery and you know nothing about bows or the sport, then the kind of bow that you have in mind is the one-piece bow. Something that is simple, stick and string, something which you might see reasonably realistically in a medieval setting or a fantasy story. And that's the kind of bow you want. So when you go shopping, you look up these one-piece bows because bows are long and you shoot arrows from them, and therefore this is a bow. So when you come across takedown bows, which are actually the majority of the market today, especially the sports variant, then you might be wondering, like, how is this a bow? And because people who have no experience with the sport are often driven by aesthetics, in other words, what the bow should look like, you may be turned off by the takedown design and veer towards the one piece. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. The one piece bows are very beautiful, but so are takedowns. So why should you get a takedown over a one piece and vice versa? The one-piece bow is the simplest kind of bow, and regardless of what kind of style you shoot, there's nothing complex about a stick and string. Setup time is minimal, complexity zero. All you do is string the bow and you are in action. So there you go. To unstring it, same thing, the bow is ready to go and ready to be packed away. So there's basically no hardship or complexity in setting up a one-piece bow. Takedown bows do require more assembly, especially when first setting up, and depending on what kind of system is used for the limb pockets, then it may take more time. Most of the standard hunting bows or beginner bows have screw-in bolts. You do come across things like the IOF system, which is a modular system. These are very easy, click and connect like that. And these are actually really easy to use compared to most other limb pocket systems. And this is what's used in most target bows today, and some field and hunting bows. So you click the limbs together, you attach the string, and your bow is ready to go. And of course, if you want to disassemble the bow, you remove the string and you remove the limbs, hence takedown. So let's talk about the pros and cons, starting with the takedown. The main advantage of the takedown is quite simply the ability to take it down. Now, why would you do so? The most common reason is storage and transportation. If you are carrying your bow in a case or a bag, then it's much easier to take the bow apart and store the pieces separately. That's really the main appeal to it. The other main advantage to takedown bows is that it's modular. That means if for whatever reason you need to swap components out, you can. This is most relevant if you're swapping parts from the same model. If you're using one riser and one set of limbs that are branded the same, then they'll be compatible. And this often is the case if you are going up in draw weight or changing draw weight. That means you simply buy a different set of limbs and you attach them. This is particularly useful for those who shoot IOF, which is the International Limb Fitting. Most modern target risers and some hunting risers are IOF, such as this one here, the Southwest Stingray. So what happens is with these limbs, they use a universal attachment system. So they simply click in, click out, and you can use any IOF limb with any IOF riser. That means you can mix and match different brands and manufacturers, and they should still fit the same way. That gives you a lot more options in terms of buying limbs or swapping limbs or borrowing limbs. And that's a pretty unprecedented advantage in terms of your equipment. Another important advantage for some takedown risers, not all, depending on the limb pocket system, is adjustability. For many of these risers, you can adjust the limb pocket alignment. So if you need to correct any mismatch or misalignment, then you can do so. You can configure the tiller, as well as for some bows, like the IOF systems, you can adjust the draw weight by adjusting the tiller bolts. And this means you can gradually go up in draw weight, or you can do some fine tuning to get a better match for your particular arrows. Disadvantages of the takedown systems? None. No, I'm serious. As much as it looks like it's complex with moving parts, no, there aren't any. The usage and functionality of a takedown bow is exactly the same as a one-piece bow. That is why nearly every bow in the market today is a takedown system. There are still traditional one-piece bows, but most bows people use and buy are takedown bows. There is no disadvantage. There's no loss in performance. There's no malfunction. It's the same thing as a one-piece, but broken up into 3 pieces. Seriously, there's nothing disadvantageous about using takedown. I say this a lot because I've had a few people in the comments say, oh, takedown disadvantage because you have to take it down. No, you don't. If you don't want to take the bow down, you don't have to take it down. In fact, many people, when we do the club here as well, we just keep the limbs on. So we keep the string on, we keep the limbs on, we might unstring it, but you can leave a bow in this state forever. So if you never ever take down your takedown bow, nothing happens. It's just a bow. But you still have the flexibility of being able to take it down or swap parts out. The one-piece bow, of course, functions like any other bow. And we're not going to any specifics in design. Simply, one piece is stick and string. It's the simplest kind of bow design. Without any moving parts or any connectivity, there's nothing that can go wrong. Which is, I guess, the appeal to people who are looking at one-piece bows. But I think the main reason people get one-piece is for the aesthetic purposes. It looks like a proper bow, it looks like a simple bow, therefore it's something which people enjoy using. Maybe the takedown system looks a bit too modern and clicky, that's fine as well. But while performance-wise, the one piece has no advantage or disadvantage over a takedown bow, there are actually several important disadvantages to note with one piece. The key disadvantage to a one-piece bow is the inability to replace anything. The main reason why this might affect you is if you need to change your draw weight. It may be too light or too heavy. With a takedown, what you do is buy a different set of limbs. And if you're using IOF, you can buy a cheap set of limbs, use them, grow into them, then replace them with better limbs. With a one-piece bow, you can't take the limbs off. That means if a bow is unusable because it's too heavy, then you can't use the bow. You can't change the limbs, you can't change the draw weight. So if you need to change draw weight, you have to buy an entire bow. This is also problematic if something gets damaged. If a takedown limb gets damaged, if it's a crack or, God forbid, you dry fired it and it comes apart, you replace the limbs. If you have damage on a one-piece bow, the entire bow is gone. You can't remove the damaged part and replace it. There are also other practical considerations, the main one being transportation. Again, with takedown, if you want to carry it with you, say you are taking public transport or you are carrying your car or just carrying in person, the fact you can take this apart and fit it into a case, a backpack or carry case, makes it supremely efficient. Especially if you're thinking about outdoors, like if you're going hiking or you're going around the woods and you're doing survival kind of shooting, then the takedown is actually really advantageous. One piece can be long and clumsy, especially if you're carrying around all day. It's not heavy, but it's just long. If you're holding it for a hunting trip, it's not a problem, but if you have to carry it around all the time, this may present some logistical challenges, including how do you carry it with you. Because again, you can't take it down. It comes as one long piece. Same with storage. If you want to carry it in some kind of case or bag, you need a very long case. In many cases, it might just be a simple sleeve or bow sock to transport it. It's very hard to find a case long enough for a longbow. And on a similar note, but also quite an important one, especially if you are watching your budget, because these bows are a single piece and can't be broken down, shipping might be more expensive. With the takedown bows, they normally come in a very small rectangular box, so the shipping prices are often very cheap because it's shipped as is. With the longbow, you may have to pay extra for shipping because the containers are oversized. They come as a long tube. Of course, if you're buying in person, this isn't going to be a problem. But if you do get things online, like I do, then do keep in mind this may be an additional cost, which you may have to factor in. So that's basically it, takedown and one piece. Takedown bows have no disadvantages in performance or function. Instead, it has a lot of extra advantages in functionality, mostly being the ability to store it in a compact space, the ability to swap parts out, and overall being a lot more modular compared to a one-piece bow. One-piece bows have no advantage over a takedown. It does have several disadvantages, mostly in the size of the one-piece bow. This doesn't mean you shouldn't get one. If you want a one-piece bow because you want one, then go for it. I'm not saying that takedown is the way to go. Just to understand that if you do choose takedown, it's not a bad choice. There's no disadvantage. Anyway, this is NUSensei. I hope you found this helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.